Welcome to the Obvious Podcast. This is episode number 101. I'm Sonny Macon, COO at ABC Florida East Coast.
And I'm Peter Dyga, President and CEO at ABC Florida East Coast.
You're listening or watching to the Obvious Podcast, where all opinions expressed are our own, unless we say otherwise.
Make sure you're subscribed to the Obvious Podcast wherever you listen. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss a new episode. You can also connect with us on Instagram, X, Truth Social, and TikTok, where we share clips, updates, and more. All of our links are waiting for you in the show notes. And if you have feedback or an idea for a future podcast, send us a note anytime at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. Happy Friday, Sonny, and welcome to the first episode of the next 100.
Yeah, there you go. First, I do want to make a point about the YouTube channel, because I got a couple of texts on this, Mr. Producer. People saying, I'm trying to watch your show, but it's just an audio. So there's two versions,
Two
right,
feeds.
on YouTube?
One just
feeds.
audio and one video. So
So you will see an audio version and a video version on YouTube as well, plus
great
Apple and
clarification.
Spotify and all of that. So don't get confused. You're not watching the wrong, you're watching the wrong thing, but the other one is there as well. They're all on YouTube. So today I wanted to ask you a question, Peter.
That's something controversial? Never, right?
No.
Here we go.
Can you think of a economic transaction in your life, daily life, that you do, this organization does, that you could do as in your professional life as well? Can you think of anything that's an economic transaction that doesn't get touched by taxation?
I would be hard pressed. Cash transactions, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Because there are some people that do it that way.
Right.
And getting to the point, I think that's why we're headed in a direction of a cashless society. Is because that's very hard for the government to track, and to collect taxes on. So,
right.
Yep. So, but yeah, I would say outside of cash transactions, it's hard.
Right.
And not even all cash transactions, obviously. I mean, you can do a cash transaction at a store and they're going to collect their tax.
Right.
But if you're doing cash transactions with a certain intent, that's the only way I can think of avoiding it.
But that's also technically illegal, right? I mean, the government wants you to collect taxes.
Well, yeah, if it was on a taxable item and you didn't pay. So, and not only that, but which I think you had intended to get into, where did we get the cash from? Well, presumably from a job,
right?
Which that income was taxed. So even the cash,
is taxed.
In some ways was
taxed.
taxed.
You look at. I was driving down the turnpike today, and I'm looking at the car, and I'm thinking, because I got my car registration in the mail yesterday, because my birthday's coming up, so I got to renew in Florida, if you don't know this, your car registration's connected to your birthday date. So you kind of renew the month your birthday is. Mm-hmm. So my birthday's coming up, I get this thing, right? So I got to pay the government $75
privilege of
just for keeping my car.
Yeah.
And my car was bought with tax money, and it was paid.
You paid sales tax.
I paid the sales tax on the car, and now and it was the money that I used to buy the car was also taxed, and now I got to pay a government tax every year just to keep my car, and the gas that it takes to run on is taxed.
Sure.
Right? Like,
sure.
If something goes wrong and I have to go get it fixed, I'm gonna pay a tax on that.
We've come a long way from Boston.
Right. So I got curious about the Boston Tea Party and kind of what led to that whole revolution, right?
A former employee, by the way, here at ABC used to accuse me, rightfully, I used to say about our northeastern patriotic roots, revolutionary roots, about how they've completely lost it. I mean, if they're living on their reputation or their historical whatever, right? Because that's the most. It's the one part of the country that was probably least apt to complain about a 3% tax on tea, or whatever it
was 3 pennies per pound.
They're the area of the country probably the tax the most and the least or the more immune, I guess. Anyway, sorry to steal your thunder.
No. So I looked it up. The Boston Tea Party was a duty of 3 pennies on a pound of tea.
You said it was like a 20%
20% on the base cost of the pound of tea. Yeah. And it actually made the legal British tea cheaper than it had been before. And and they were angry because they didn't get to, the whole idea of taxation without representation. And I just think of how far we have come, where half the country doesn't even question government spending, doesn't even question taxes.
Well, is that because they have representation? I mean, I don't know. I've never really. We all know about the Boston Tea Party, and
Oh no, don't say that. I mean, this country is
well, okay,
massively ignorant when it comes to
all right.
history.
Some of us
Reading.
know about the Boston Tea Party,
Yeah,
but I don't know that I knew before we started today, and you did the research, that it was 3% and a 20% increase, and but yeah, it was always we all. I mean, again, I can't say we all, but it's common to be taught that it was about taxation without representation, and I don't know. Was it the tax itself? Was it the combination of the tax and the fact that it was being done by the crown and they had no representation, right?
They don't,
so.
Exactly. And remember, this was at a time when there was no such thing as an income tax.
But anyway, I guess right. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that would probably be the excuse of people who are more opposed to, those of us that think taxes are out of control, and to say that, well, it's being imposed on you by duly elected individuals,
right?
So it's not like it's taxation without representation. So you can't. Anyway, sorry to totally bog down this conversation. It's not really what you wanted to talk about.
No. I was, every part of American life, you could argue modern Western life is like drenched in taxation.
If you really think about it, it's unbelievable. Right. Beyond, it's like I've always likened it a little bit like the frog or the lobster in the slow boil, right? We're so accustomed to it now.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
We don't even think about
just how much we're taxed in how many different ways.
Every single thing you see behind me, every single thing in front of me, when it was bought with taxed money, taxes were paid on that.
Right.
Every single thing.
Right.
Right? And I don't know, if you don't own a company and you're not aware of this, what is that tax called that they send you a bill for your
tangible property?
Intangible taxes, right?
Tangible property tax.
So you buy something for let's say this conference room table you're looking at, this was bought with tax money, and it was paid, there was a sales tax paid on the table.
Yep.
And the government wants a piece of the value of this table from now until.
A lot of people aren't aware of that because that's they only do that on business.
All right, it's a business tax.
They're not asking you,
right?
At your house for I don't think they do.
Well, don't give them that idea, and how they're going to come after intangible taxes on houses.
And your contents of your house.
How much is your couch worth?
Right. That's what they do on business.
I know.
Now there's exemptions, and thresholds.
Yeah, I mean Florida is pretty good about that. I think it's $50,000, and if you're under $50,000 value, but if you're a nice sort of office,
but that's all those things are just about politics. If like we exempt certain people over, under a certain amount, then we're not going to have their opposition.
Right.
So we can get away with it's a little socialism in a way,
right.
Like Mandami, choosing to just go after certain rich people or houses or incomes over a certain amount. Because his calculation is, as most socialist calculations are, that if I can divide the people enough between the haves and the have-nots, until they come for you, right? So
I read today
all these taxes, are supporting in some way or another one of our three levels of government, right? The local, state, or federal government. And I think this is was this the episode we wanted to get into? Because government is never going to shrink on its own. It's just not. It's just not the nature of government. It's not going to shrink on its own unless it's forced to.
Bureaucracy's default position is to grow.
That's right.
Right.
The taxes, in order to support that and fund it, is never going to go down. Your taxes are never going to be cut voluntarily unless something forces the government to do that.
Yep.
And every once in a while, we're fortunate enough, because of the state we live in, where we have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To force a reduction and force elected officials to actually make hard choices that you and your family have to make every day.
I do want to, before we get into that, I do want to make this point. I read this today. This was a quote from the comptroller. He's either the existing comptroller or he's running to be comptroller for the state of New York. No, there's not city, but the state.
Okay.
100,000 taxpayers pay enough taxes to fund the entire operation for the whole state of New York. Their top 100,000 taxpayers.
100,000 in a state of, 20 million or something like that.
Are paying enough taxes to cover the entire state's budget.
Okay.
It's absolutely insane, right? I mean, I know we all hear like eat the rich and the rich.
Don't get me started on that. And I've seen we've all seen the stats.
Yeah.
But I probably can't quote them from the top of my head. But whenever you hear this, and again, socialist/communist, that have been around for decades and century now, about fair share and the wealthy paying their fair share and this whole class division, you never hear in the same sentence the fact that, I mean, what is it, like 1% of the income earners or producers or holders in the country pay like 40% of the overall taxes. The top 10 or 15% pay 95% or something. I mean, it's, what exactly is fair share if that's not, I mean, I actually would agree that's not fair.
Right. It's, they're paying,
it's quite unfair, actually. Yeah. So, and I'm certainly not in that camp, that category, but I can certainly recognize fairness when I see it and a lie when I hear it. So
let's go back to this, your earlier point about rarely, but once in a while you get an opportunity to sort of fight back. Right?
Yep.
Pay less in taxes.
Yep. This might have to be a two-parter if we just start into this now.
The state of Florida has that opportunity. There is an amendment on the ballot coming up which requires 60% of the vote. And that essentially doesn't eliminate any taxes. So I guess we should explain for our non-Florida people what homestead is.
Yep.
Do that?
Sure. So, well, I think probably most states have a homestead. So it's it's your home where you have your primary residence. Mm-hmm. You probably have to prove. Different states probably require that proof in different ways or another. Either you live there a certain amount of time during the year, or your utility bills are in your name. I don't know. Anyway, there's different ways I suppose different states prove it, but if it's your primary residence, you can homestead it. All right. And in Florida, there's a certain, again, with the game of trying to divide and conquer, right? Houses under a certain value. What is it currently? The standard homestead exemption. 50,000 or
50,000. I think it's
50,000.
And then you get
added on if you're a veteran, if you're a senior citizen,
first
responders. Over the years, the state of Florida has added extra value to that.
Yes.
And one of the amendments, because, by the way, it's very interesting because affordability has become, that catchphrase, right? But when it comes to affordability and the role taxes play in that, all of a sudden the left is dead silent.
Yeah, like that.
Dead silent. The Democrats and the left are dead silent on affordability when it comes to government's pressure, taxes, and whatnot, because there it's almost as much as your mortgage. Mm-hmm. And if you add the insurance and the taxes to it, so. I mean, it's got to be more probably than probably doubles your mortgage. I've always thought of it this way. Think about how much more house you could afford if it wasn't for
I am paying, and I don't have a big house, right?
And by the way, another pet peeve of mine is, I mean, at least with insurance, you're actually getting something in exchange for it. Now we could argue about but you're getting protection, right? You're getting the promise of your house burns down or something happens. They're going to pay. You're getting something in exchange. Mm-hmm. So now somebody would argue with taxes, you're getting something in exchange. You're getting the roads, you're getting the schools, you're getting the libraries, you're getting all that kind of stuff. Yep. That's right. That's right.
They could argue that. They would argue that. And I understand that. But it's like, that's where the money has to come from. Right? The money has to come from property tax. And again, this goes back to the point of sort of waste and just the sheer amount of money they collect from taxation. Because I bought that money with, the down payment was with money that was taxed.
So anyway, back to Florida, so people understand what's going on here. There was a robust conversation this past legislative session, and actually going back a few years, I think, about affordability and the exceedingly rapid rate of increase, if you will, of taxes, in particular local taxes around the state. And part of the conversation has been about, which I'd love our governor for this, Governor Ron DeSantis. I think he was one of the ones I first heard it from, where it's like you never really own your home.
Right.
I mean, you could be paying your mortgage your whole life, and after 30 or 40 years or however long, 15, or, you pay it off. But if you still owe the government every year for that home, even after you've paid the mortgage off.
Right.
And if you don't pay it, although I get the homesteaded properties, I think are exempt from foreclosure or anything, right?
Yes.
Now, if you sell it, they'll probably
They will collect it. Yeah, they'll collect it.
So whoever, your sales proceeds, whether it's you or your estate, will eventually pay that.
But I think if you don't pay your mortgage, the lender can still foreclose. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think you know what? We'll address this in part 2. We'll look it up. Because I think if you don't pay your property taxes, even if you're homesteaded, you can lose your home. Now, I think if there's a judgment against you, they can't take your house away. If there's a non-property tax related judgment. Yeah. I think that just goes and sits and waits for you to sell it.
So I'm not sure. But anyway, the larger conversation was about, the role of property taxes in owning your home. And the governor was throwing out there this idea of at some point you ought to 30 years later.
Okay.
When you're 50 or you're 60 and you've paid for your home, that you ought to own it outright and not own any taxes. And a lot of people like that idea. Well, they didn't go quite that far. That was part of an overall larger conversation about the direction Florida's going to go in. And what they ended up doing was putting a constitutional amendment on the ballot that, again, you alluded to, requires 60% of the voters, which is a fairly high threshold these days. Sometimes you can't get people to agree on hardly anything. To get 60% is sometimes difficult.
Yeah.
So, but what it would do is, I think, add a significant amount to the homestead exemption.
Yeah.
I forget how much. Do you know how much Amendment 3 does?
I think it was 150.
Adds 150,000 to the exemption.
Well, I mean, adds.
So they're saying like some, I don't know, 50 or 60% of most of the homes in the state would be exempt from tax.
Yeah.
Probably not the ones in urban areas like we're in.
Yep.
But in a lot of the more rural,
lower valued homes.
Almost all of them would be exempt, which again is part of the government's coordinated effort to defeat this. Is how are these local governments going to survive, especially the smaller ones and the more rural ones? So, which is really offensive in and of itself in my mind, because a lot of this issue and a lot of other issues over the years that kind of directly impact government and taxation and those kind of things, it just boils my blood that if you watch your TV right now or your mail or whatever, you're getting all these campaigns funded by the government, funded by your tax dollars to advocate for more tax dollars. They're spending your money telling you this is a bad idea because guess what services they'll cut first?
Right. Schools, police,
fire.
Right.
That's the
first
parks
thing
maybe,
And parks.
Though, none of the other stuff government does, DEI stuff or who knows, other crazy stuff they spend money on.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's the game they play.
Can we just agree we have too many damn parks in this country? Like my little town of 72 square miles has 38 parks.
Sacrilege.
I mean, do I need 38 parks in my hometown? I mean, it's insane. Anyway, I know I'm going to get some hate mail for that, but we are out of time. So this will be a part 2, guys. I'm sorry. Like we should have.
You didn't ask the big question yet.
Yeah, I know. We'll save it for part 2. The big question's coming up. Well, that was an interesting episode. We look forward to part 2 on this. Make sure you subscribe to our feed so you won't miss a single episode. Thank you for listening and honoring us with your time. We look forward to sharing part 2 of this episode next Friday.
For comments, send us an email at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. Until next Friday. Ciao.